Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of Talkin Schmoedown. I am your host, Josh the Raynor, here with episode number 63. We got a good one this week, talking about a couple of really great matches. A brand new episode of Friday Night Titans, second episode. Great stuff. We got the ruling class versus plot twist. Ruling class being Ty Lieberman, Witney Siebold. Plot twist being Shannon Miller and Brandon Hanna, two brand new teams. And I got to say, they looked fantastic. I was very, very pleased with what I saw. But then we get our main event tonight. Janine the Machine taking on the newly dubbed Mr. Irwin, formerly big time Ethan Irwin. Big time no more. He is now just Mr. Irwin. So yeah, let's get into everything. We had like I said, it was a great episode of Friday Night Titans. As usual, I'm excited to see where this goes. And we got a little extra scene to start things off. We got Harloff and Gucci. They're talking, and Gucci says he wants a match for his faction. Harloff's like, "All right, you want a match? You got one," and he whispers it to him. It's all secretive here. We find out at the end, however. But right now, this sets up stuff going on for the Finstock Exchange. It shows, Harloff being back in charge finally. Like we really haven't seen a lot of that since the season started. So that's nice to see. Grace out of the way, obviously, and everything. So Harloff back in charge, giving his stuff. And like I said, I called this the pre-show scene because this happens before even the previously on takes place. This is just something that happens right out the gate. Then we get the previously on, which I love this. I love that they do that. It gets everybody caught up for what's about to happen in the show. It makes this feel like a legitimate show, and that's what I love about it. And then we get our cold open for the night. Coy, Jandrew, and the Flirtin' Flaus. Flaus says he wants to challenge Shazam. He's confident that the ruling class can take on Shazam. Coy says they're not going to play Shazam, but you are going to play the quirky Mercs. And this is when we are introduced to a brand new team. I mentioned them at the very top of the show. Plot twist. Shannon Miller, Brandon Hanna. Brandon the Hornet Hanna now dressed up like the Green Hornet, which I thought was pretty funny. And these two teams, like I said, man, they really showed me promise. I was really pleased with how everything went down in this match. And I love that at the end of the scene, Coy, he goes over to Flaus. He's like, "Man, I want to tell you about your latest album. It sucked." I thought that was hilarious. Brett does a great job as the Flaus. It's one of the funniest characters that they've got on the Schmoedown. I was sad that we didn't really get a lot of him at all last season because he was over in the FCL. He's technically a former FCL champion. So for those of you who were watching the FCL, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we get to the show. We get our opening intro with that amazing theme from David B., the amazing intro video package, which I love. And they go right into the match. We get the ruling class plot twist. The ruling class comes out first. Plot with the Flirtin' Flaus not really seeming like he knows what to do on stage. It's a brand new studio. Seems like he's not quite sure what he's doing up there. He's got to get too close to the camera and everything. Whether that was all on purpose or it was just Brett not being quite familiar with hitting his mark on this new stage, I don't know. But either way, it made me laugh. Then we also got to see Jillian Marie from Simple Point of View out there. Said to be helping Flaus with some managing because it's his very first foray into managing. And I'll be honest, I was confused. I was like, okay, it's like she was a backstage interviewer, and she's on Certain Point of View, and she's great, as both those. But I was really confused. I was like, okay, why? But it seemed to, not necessarily make sense, but what they were going for paid off in the end and throughout the match. They were doing some funny stuff with her. And I'll be honest, the stuff that she did, especially in the post interview, was brilliant. It was hilarious, and I absolutely loved it. We get the plot twist comes out. We get Ken Knapsack calling Brandon, still calling him the Hitman. I don't know if he had it wrong on it, because he reads off a card, so I don't know if he had it wrong on the card or if he just had forgotten that his name is now the Hornet. Ellis winds up correcting him after the fact, which that stuck out to me right away. I was like, he's not the Hitman anymore, Ken. Come on, you gotta get with it if you're gonna be the announcer. And there's a running theme throughout this match of Brandon Hanna being nice now. He spent several seasons as the bad guy. He getting under people's skin. He got under my skin a lot when it first happened, and then it just kind of became like a funny thing to kind of tease him and kind of banter with him back and forth on Twitter. It was actually really fun. Brandon's actually a really cool dude outside of this. And I like that we're kind of going to get to see that side, that nice guy side of him. We'll see how long it lasts, though. So yeah, we get into round one. The ruling class, they get a perfect round, both of them. Then Whitney gets the bonus. Ty, unfortunately for him, does not get that, but a perfect round coming into this game. Whitney's always been a good player, but there have been a lot of times where he's just been kind of hit or miss. We just saw Ty last season. We didn't get a whole lot of exposure to him, so it's to me, I felt like it was really nice to finally get to really see both of them shine like this, because they are both damn good competitors, and they showed that here. Brandon, however, had a bit of a rough round one, missing 3 questions, Liz missing 1. And so they dropped behind by 5 points right there at the end of round one here, 21-16. It was rough, I was hoping for it to be a little bit closer at the end of round one, but I'll be honest, I was not expecting a perfect round from the ruling class. I really wasn't, and maybe that's just me underestimating, and shame on me, I suppose. But I was not. I was expecting it to be a little closer. So we get into round 2. Again, Julie Marie back out with the guys there, but she's being a little bit overshadowed behind kind of in between Ty and Flaus. And this is kind of where things kind of start. We're seeing her just kind of pushed to the back a little bit, and it really culminates in the post interview. And so they spin Ice Cube. They're not happy with that, so they respin, grab scores and soundtracks. They missed their first question, and Plot Twist gets a 2-point steal here. But they get the rest of their stuff, and it puts them up 9 points. So Plot Twist has a lot of ground to cover. 9 points in order to tie it up. And to a lot of players, to a lot of teams, that might seem a little daunting. But Plot Twist, they pull it out. They did such a good job here. When it was time for Plot Twist to have their turn, what I thought was funny, Flaus came out and he went over to their table. Brett Sheridan doing an amazing job playing this character, getting the humor out there. It was fantastic. Jilly had to go over and pull him back over to the other side. It was really funny to watch. And they spin Wizarding World and they take it, which I gotta say, I would have been shocked if they hadn't, because Brandon being inner geekdom, and I know that's like one of his strengths anyways, the Wizarding World, and apparently it's one of Liz's strengths as well. And so it would have actually shocked me had they spun away from that one. And they wind up using their last repeat in round 2, so they're tapped out, but they wind up going perfect here, taking the lead finally. They were down by 5 when it came to the end of the round 1. Then they, when after they were done with the ruling classes round, in round 2, they were down by 9. So that's, like I said, daunting. That's a big gap. But getting perfect round here, taking that lead finally, it was, I thought I had some breathing room. I was like, okay, because I was rooting for them, to be totally honest with you. And so I was like, okay, they could do this. This is a way more interesting game now. I love games where it's really close. It's like a nail biter. The tension is there. You don't know what's going to happen. Shutouts are they can be cool. You get the occasional knockout. It's like, holy shit, what just happened? But I love the nail biter type games, and getting that close after round 2, just ahead by 1 point, 28-27. That's right where you want to be. That's a sweet spot. But when you're that close, there's really no room for error, and that's the problem here. We get into round 3, and Brandon unfortunately misses his 2-pointer, and this is the thing that cost them the match. Yes, if he had picked up a couple more points in round 1, or even just 1 point, things would have been different. If Liz had gotten her point, the one that she missed, round 1 could have reshaped things, but they had gotten ahead, and so all they needed to do was clear round 3, and they would have taken this. Unfortunately, Brandon was not able to get that 2-pointer, and the ruling class was able to get all 3, and they wound up winning it by 1 point, 37-36. It was heartbreaking, but I was still oddly happy for the ruling class because I love Whitney, and I think him and Ty are a perfect team. Like they are perfectly matched up, and they're entertaining to watch. And so I gotta say, I was actually kind of okay with this, And I'll be honest, both teams really did have a great game. Brendan had a few missteps throughout, but nothing like egregious. It's not like he only answered like 5 in his first, and then they botched a bunch in round 2 or something like that. He missed a few, and it happens. But that's the problem, is when they went almost perfect. I think they missed 2 questions. Ty missed the bonus, and then they missed the 1 question in round 2, and that was it. Ruling class only missed those 2 questions. So when you have a team like that who's going to play like that, you really got to be on the ball. You can't be missing. Unfortunately for them, that's the way it was. And if Brandon had been able to get that 2-pointer in round 3, this would have been a completely different scenario. They would have came up from behind 5 points in round 1, and they could have won it that way. But that's the way it goes. If wishes were fishes, the world would be an ocean. That's what they say. And the one thing that I hope is that this loss, the gameplay from Brandon, which I think was still damn good, especially since he is an IG centric player. Like, he can do singles and teams, but he is IG centric. And so for him to still do that well, I think is very impressive. But I just hope that this doesn't cause any sort of like tension or issues between him and Liz as a team. Because I like them as a team, and I think he can get better. If he studies the singles type of categories a bit more, branches out from just the IG. I think he can really step up his game. And like I said, the ruling class, man. That's a fantastic team. I could see them winning a belt down the line. So we'll see. I have to keep our eyes on them. So then, like I kept alluding to, we get to the post interview. They start off with the ruling class, and the thing that I kept focusing on, because it's just I couldn't keep my eyes off it, was Jilly in the background, just trying desperately to stay in frame from behind, way back behind. Flaus claims that she was just there. He was giving her a chance he was giving her a certain point of view, is what he was saying. Playing on the show that she co-hosts, and just bringing her up there as a fan. And she disagreed. She was told that she was there to help him to manage this, and so I just thought it was hilarious, the whole dynamic that they had there. I don't know if she's gonna ever come out with them again, or like what's gonna happen, but I thought it was really fun and funny to see what she was doing. Because like I said, typically on the Schmoedown, she's just like a backstage interviewer. And to see her doing other stuff, I don't know. I really dug it. And I hope we get to see some more stuff like that. Then we get the interview with the other team. We got Brandon. He's hilarious as a face. This post interview, he cracked me up so much. So you could even see Coy trying really hard to hold back the laughter. It was this is a side of Brandon that I'm really not used to, so it was really fun to see him like that. But then we got a little, I don't know if you'd call this a foreshadowing maybe, of Andrew Guy leaning back into that heel side, possibly becoming a heel commentator, which I would love. Now that the Schmoedown has a designated line judge, the commentators can be a little biased here and there because the challengers aren't up to them in the end. And so I kind of want to see Guy go back to being a heel as a commentator. This is something that you get in wrestling all the time. You get face and heel commentators, just like how we have like the play-by-play and the color commentators. It's something that I really am hoping that we get to see here. And we, like I said, we got a little bit of what I'm going to call a foreshadowing here with Guy calling Coy and plot twist horrible people. He was really kind of bagging on him, and I don't know. I mean, that screams heel tactics to me. And so if we're gonna get some heel and face commentators, let's do it. And Guy's the perfect one, I think, to start that with. I really hope that they dive deeper into that. Okay, then we got a scene in between matches here. We got Jeannine and Alex Marzonia starting it off. He's giving her some quick words of encouragement. It was nice to see Alex. I feel like I haven't seen him in forever. And after he leaves, Kaiser and Smets come in, and they bring Jeannine into the dungeon officially. So now she has her faction, and this made the most sense, right? I mean, you got Roxy betraying Smets, and then betraying Jeannine, by doing that, by causing Jeannine to lose trust in Roxy. And so it made the most sense for her to go over to the dungeon, and storyline wise. And so we could have this feud continue. We had Smets and Chandru. Now we've got Mr. Irwin and Jeannine, and we can really kind of push that. And hopefully we'll be able to get Jeannine a good teams partner soon. We'll see kind of where that goes. All right. Then we're going to get into the match. Janine the Machine versus Mr. Irwin. Another great match here. I really like that for this one, at least. They did a side screen career stats for both of them, which I thought was really cool. I like that a lot, actually. I hope that they continue to do that. I don't know if they're going to do that for all of them. They didn't do it for the first one because these were two brand new teams, so they didn't have any actual stats. I guess technically they could have maybe done something with the individual players' stats, but if they're gonna work just team stats, it makes sense for them to have not had them there. But I hope that it continues. We'll see on the next episode this Friday. There was something that happened when Ethan came out that I wouldn't say necessarily bothered me, but it kind of almost confused me. Ethan's getting booed, obviously. You know, he betrayed Jeannine. He turned heel, joined Roxy, and so the crowd's booing him. And he says, "I'm used to this." And my first thought was, since fucking when? You know, he's always been a fan favorite. And so, like, how the hell are you used to being booed? I can't think of a time where I can remember the crowd overwhelmingly booing Ethan Irwin. I just don't, because he's always been like a face. And so I just, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see how that made any sense to me. I don't honestly know why he said it. There were a few things in this episode that seemed off character. We'll see again at the end of this in the post interviews. There's some off character stuff that I'm just like, what the hell is happening here? Why are they going this way? But we'll see. You know, I'll talk about it when we get there. All right, so we get to the match, and surprisingly, Ethan misses his first question. I was like, oh shit, okay, maybe he's not as prepared. That's not the case, but I worried that maybe he wasn't as prepared as he could have been. Jeannine winds up using a couple of repeats right in round one. You know, it's not looking great for, you know, when it comes to that. They both have solid rounds, but they both also made mistakes here. You know, out of 10 questions each, the score winds up being 8-7 in favor of Mr. Irwin. So they both made a few mistakes here, but solid rounds overall. We're getting to round two. Jeannine spins modern classics, and I have a kind of a problem with modern classics, just because, like, what designates something as a modern classic? You know, is there a time frame? I'm just really curious about what the criteria are for a modern classic. So, like, you land on that, and it's like, well, what fucking movies could be in it? I have no idea, because they could consider something a modern classic, but you might not. So I have no idea. I'd love to hear, because like how with the streaming one, how they have a list, I would kind of like to see what they consider modern classics. What kind of movies are in this category. But she spins away from it, which I probably would have too, for the reason that I was just talking about. It's hard to lock in on what you might wind up getting. And she winds up landing on courtroom dramas and legal thrillers. That's a tough one. Unless you're really into those types of movies, I feel like that's a tough category, and we see that for Jeannine here. It was not easy. She clawed and scraped her way through it. She does give up a 1-point steal to Ethan. She almost gives up a 2-point steal here with the Dark Waters question. She answered Black Water. Ethan answered Dark Water, but the answer was actually Dark Waters, which that movie, it's a really good movie. And I knew the answer right away, which I was happy about. And I'm glad that Ellis caught the mistake, because Guy was ready to give him the points for saying Dark Water. And Ellis was on the ball. He caught that mistake and was like, no, it's Dark Waters, not Dark Water. Nobody gets the point. It wasn't controversial at all, but it was definitely noteworthy and an interesting miss to see go down. That movie didn't get a lot of play. No, you know, people didn't talk about it a lot. I think it was a bit underrated. I actually really enjoyed that one quite a bit. So then Ethan goes up, spins Samuel L. Jackson, and stays with it. I feel like this is a category that could get kind of deep and kind of broad, just for the simple fact that Samuel L. Jackson is kind of known for being in like everything. You know, he's in so many movies. It's kind of ridiculous. So like, it could almost be anything, really. But Ethan goes perfect here in round 2, so that it didn't really matter whether or not it was too broad. Jeannine only wound up getting 5 points. So like I said, she kind of scraped her way through it, and it wasn't great for her, unfortunately, because she winds up 7 points behind at the end of round 2. Erwin leads 19-12. Not a good place for Jeannine to be in at this point. It's really difficult to come back. Like in the previous match, we had a deep gap at the end of round 1, but then only a 1-point difference in round 2. This match, it was the opposite, a 1-point difference in round 1 and then a deep gap in round 2. And the deep gap in round 2 is where things get tricky, because the probability of you coming back from a 7-point deficit is almost impossible. It really is. It all depends on how well the other player plays in round 3. Because like if they bomb out, then sure, but there's no guarantee there, and it's a terrible place to be. So we get into round 3. Jeannine manages to tie it up after her 5. She missed her 3-point question, and so she was able to at least tie it up, avoiding the TKO. But that meant that all Ethan had to do was get one of his questions, and he easily did that with his 2-pointer. Jeannine got this awesome 5-point double dragon question correct, which I thought was awesome. And I could not for the life of me pull that movie. I was like, what video game movie would they be in? And it's like, I think I said, was it Dead or Alive, DOA? I think that was what I said. I was like, I was just guessing. I couldn't think of it. I had totally forgotten about Double Dragon. And so I was like thrilled when she hit that, because it's like, oh, she still has a chance, a very, very slim chance. But you never know. There's a world out there, a universe in the multiverse out there, where Ethan Irwin bombs out all of round 3. It could happen. We know he's not, not infallible. He missed questions in round 1. He missed that. He got that steal wrong in round 2. I don't even know if he would have known that question, because she said black water, and he was like, is it dark water? Like, he didn't. He was guessing, making like an educated guess about that movie. So I'm curious if he would have even known that. So if he'd gotten questions like that, there was always a chance that could have happened. But unfortunately for Jeannine, it did not happen here. So, it sucks to see. I love Jeannine. It was hard to watch. It's hard to watch her get this far. Have to deal with Roxy and the attitude and everything, and just to lose to Ethan, especially after she did really well last season. She was a comeback player of the year last season. Beat Dan Merle, so like we know she's a great player, and I hope that this doesn't hold her back too far. I hope that she gets some more matches this season. We got the free for all coming up next month, and so maybe she'll do well there. I don't know, we'll see. But Ethan winds up winning 21-19 here. Bravo to Mr. Ethan. He did very well. He really did. He missed, I think, 2 in round 1, and then just missed that steal. And if he had gotten that steal, she would have never been able. Once she missed that 3-pointer, it would have been over. There would have been. She wouldn't even have been able to answer her 5. So they would have gotten that TKO. That S, the one letter cost him the TKO. And that's just unfortunately how it goes. You miss something, you lose something. It is what it is. So then we get to the interviews, the post-match interviews, and this is what I was saying, where we had some character discrepancies, I'll say. We had Roxy not allowing Jen Sturger to ask questions outside of ones that pertain to the match itself. And Jen just like backs down, acts real timid around her, just kind of lets Roxy just like steamroll over her. And I'm like, this is not Jen Sturger. Like, what is going on here? Jen Sturger is a badass. You know, she gets in people's faces. She asks the hard questions. She is willing to say the things that others may not be willing to say. And to see her just kind of roll over for Roxy, I'm like, no, this is not okay. Like, I do not want to see this happening. Roxy should never have that kind of power over Jen. Jen should be the one person who will always give it back. And like, she could have, you know, she could have been like, nah, I'm going to ask these questions. It's my job. And then Roxy could have just been like, well, then this interview's over. And they could have walked. And I think that would have been better. It would have kept Jen looking, her character looking strong. And it would have still made Roxy a strong heel in that. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not a fan of the way it was kind of went down. But that's me. Let me know your thoughts. I'm curious. At Movieblog Merc on Twitter. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Or if you're in the chat, you know, just throw me a line. I totally will read something from the comments. They then reveal that the match that Harloff had whispered to Gucci, they revealed what that is, and it's going to be the Barbarian versus Sam Levine in a number one contenders match, and on this week's, I should say, episode of Friday Night Titans. That's right, number one contender match with the winner facing Marisol McKee at the pay-per-view the following week. And so that's going to be good. You know, Barbarian, you know, he earned that spot, and Sam Levine, you know, he got himself the spot, but he is he, at least when he was active, a damn good player, a force to reckon with, you know, a double champ. And so does he have ring rust? I guess we'll see, because it's been a long time. You know, he retired prior to the Digital League. I honestly, I don't remember if it was 2018 or 2019, but it was prior to the Digital League. So it's been at least a couple of years since he's actively played. And so I'm sure that he's been studying and mock matches and all that. And I hope he's ready. You know, I'm excited to see it. I'm rooting for Sam. You know, I want to see him pull this out. I hope he comes out with Rachel. That's what I want to see, because he's not on a faction. So, because he gave that up. And so I'm looking forward to this one. I think it's gonna be good. And then we get our post scene. We got Adam Witt with JTE. JTE is pissed about losing to Brendan Meyer the week before. And he wants a partner, a teammate, so that they can dethrone Shazam. He wants to take them down. And Adam Witt brings out none other than Paul Preston. THE, the Paul Preston, which I love. And I think this will be a damn good team, man. I love Paul. JTE has shown that he is a great player. I may not always like him, but he's a great player. And I think the two of them together, it'll make for an interesting team. And I knew that Paul was going to wind up on Adam Witt's team on the fan favorites, because I mean, it makes sense. The movie guys, you know, they are the movie guys. They came in together as a team. It makes sense that now that he's making his own faction, that he'd bring Paul in, since he's no longer on the Den. It just made sense to me. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. You know, we got, like I said, the pay-per-view coming up a little over a week from now on the 25th, I think. It's a pay-per-view version of Friday Night Titans, so it'll be behind the paywall, be on Patreon, and I'm excited for it. You know, a big match, Marisol McKee versus either the Barbarian or Sam Levine. I don't know. I feel like though no matter who it is, I'm still going to be rooting for Marisol. I want her to hold on to that. I want her to defend and keep that title for a bit. But yeah, a lot of good stuff coming. You know, I hope that we get to see some more variety of matches soon. I'm wanting some multiplayer matches, like a 3, 4, or 5 player match. I really want to see that happen. I'd love for us to finally get like our first Star Wars match. You know, I know he's not going to be doing a lot of focus on Star Wars, but still pepper it in here and there. You know, I'd love to get that. Get a 4-way Star Wars match, you know, at the pay-per-view. That would be pretty awesome. I just hope that it's not going to be, we're not going to do any Star Wars until Star Wars Celebration. That's going to suck. You know, like these guys and girls, they bust their ass to study and to make sure they're at the top of their game for the Star Wars division. And I understand that, you know, there's a budget and everything. I get it. I totally get it. But there's got to be something that can be done. Like I have recommended this before, even if you sprinkle matches here and there, but I really hope that they do some sort of tournament. Just even if it's just like a 1 tournament, 8 people, even if it's a digital tournament. I know he doesn't like digital, but like when they did it on Twitch, even if it's that, just give us something, man. I really hope that we get to see more of them. I may not be able to answer the Star Wars questions, but I like watching the matches, you know, and so I don't want to lose that. You know, we didn't have nearly the amount of Star Wars players, and they turned the whole faction thing into you got to have, you know, a singles player, you got to have a team, you got to have an IG player, and you got to have a Star Wars player. But if there's not going to be any Star Wars matches, then what the fuck is the point? You know what I mean? So like you have all these factions who each have a Star Wars player, but if they're not going to play, then what is the point? So I really hope that something happens. Really hope. And I hope that he figures out what the hell is going to actually be happening with the factions. Because again, like, if he doesn't care, then why should we? Like, I like the storyline stuff, but it's going to get to a point where it's like, okay, well, what is actually going to happen with these factions? Anything? Nothing? Is it just like, oh, this is where we are? I don't know. And because I think it may, you know, he talked about how getting rid of the factions will open up storylines, but like keeping the factions still stifles certain storylines because like you're not going to be able to team up certain people if they're on different factions. If you decide you're going to have to go through this whole thing. It's like, oh, they're going to leave that faction and go to this other faction. It's going to make things messy there. So I don't know. I really hope that he figures out what exactly they're going to do with the faction stuff going for the rest of the season, but I don't know what's going to happen. But thank you guys for watching this week, episode 63 of Talkin Schmoedown. I am your host, Josh the Merc Raynor. You can catch me on Twitter at movieblogmerc. If you're watching this, you're watching on my channel, Merc with the Movie Blog. So please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and click that little bell, wherever the hell it is on the screen. Click that little bell so you always get notified whenever I drop brand new content. I've got a lot of stuff going on here. I've got Last Call at McLaren's, which is a How I Met Your Mother podcast, as well as we cover the How I Met Your Father show, which I'll be posting the season 1 finale episode on Friday. So that will go up then. We've also got, obviously, Talkin Schmoedown here. We've got Oh What a Marvel, which will be coming back for Moon Knight. We've got Hey Mando, which is a Mandoverse review show. So you know, The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and any of them that spin out of those. Unfortunately, will not be doing Obi-Wan. I'll be watching Obi-Wan. I'll be talking about Obi-Wan just in general, like on my Twitter feed, but I'm not going to be doing a show for it specifically. Got a lot of movie trailer reviews, things like that, and I'm going to be doing some actual like movie reviews and top 10 lists and things like that coming soon. I've got some ideas percolating in my brain, so keep an eye out for that. If you are listening on podcast form. We've got Anchor, an Anchor page, anchor.fm/movieblog Merc. You can leave me a voice message over there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can, if you want to leave me a 5-star review, you can write something and I will read that out on air. I'll play the voice messages on air as well. Just tell me what show you are aiming it toward, and that's where it will go. And yeah, be sure, again, like I said, follow me right here on Twitter at @MovieBlogMerc, Merc with MovieBlog on Facebook, at @MovieBlogMerc on Twitter and Instagram. So thank you guys again for joining me today and every week for this episode of Talkin Schmoedown. I hope that you join me next week when we do some more Talkin Schmoedown. Catch you guys next time.